Hey guys, this is The Argument with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip, and I welcome you to this episode. It will be episode 6 of The Argument, in which we're talking about the Walsh family. That's right, the John Walsh family, Adam Walsh family, Meghan Walsh family, Callahan and Hayden and Reve Walsh family. They've come under scrutiny because of Meghan Walsh, the daughter of John and Reve, the daughter who was born right after the year after Adam was found unalived, and the issues that she's had having children, and with her dad taking the children from her because he doesn't see her as somebody safe. So, guys, this is about the Walsh family, and Phil and I start talking about it while we were doing the Whitakers, and you'll see that, and you'll see where Phil, I felt, had the wrong idea about what John Walsh was about. And I had met the family. I had actually worked with Adam Walsh's grandma, Jean Walsh, when I worked at the park all those years ago. And I found her to be an amazing woman. And I found the Walsh family to be very kind people. So, guys, let's listen up.
And looking over, and we cooed at a child, and then suddenly somebody got paranoid about that, and both Frank, we were suspect because we were interacting with the child. I was like, huh, what? And they would mention the Adam Walsh thing, and it was because it was being popularized and it was fear mongering at the time. Now it turns out the father later in life is not a prime example of someone who was a grieving parent that tried to do something about this. He's someone that turns out to have capitalized on it, and he's made millions
I
out of
don't
it.
know that
He's
that
got
I don't.
involved even in another show. But I mean, as much
Yeah.
attention
So
as he called for it, no.
wait,
I'd go there. I'll go there.
whoa.
That's the argument, right?
Yeah, no, not here. This is about the Whitakers. No, that's a whole other thing. No, I don't mind having that argument because I am firmly on the other side of that. As you know, I knew the Walsh family because I worked with Gene
Yeah.
at the
Have you seen
parks.
where the dad's taking
But,
it now?
wait. We can talk about that, but I want to end this and then we'll
Okay.
talk about that. Okay. Go ahead. You put it in your words. I don't want to say what you said.
I just, from what I could see, it seems like he did not take it solely as, yes, he. It seems like in the end, he has done everything he can to monetize this thing, and he's taken it to that level. How many children has he helped? I don't know. I'm speaking entirely as out of my ass. Yeah.
He's helped a lot of children, but he also has America's Most Wanted, which now I think Callahan is doing with him. His son Callahan is doing that with him.
Yes, I could see a picture of them together doing that, and yeah, I really don't know enough about it. We're not ready to talk about this. I have to spend time with it. But yeah, one of the recent articles I saw was in the end he has made a lot of money on this.
Yeah, but listen, here's where you and I are going to disagree, or maybe where we'll bridge our disagreement. He ended up in the eyes of the public because his son was taken from a department store and then found decapitated to where they only got his head. They never got the rest of Adam. That's all they got, was his head. So, and then it started as the Adam Walsh Research Center, I believe it was called. And that was in Hollywood. And that was in a really small, like, building. I remember going to it, because I wanted to help with what I could do, and I wanted to write a story. And I wrote a story, and I want to say it was in Tropic. What was the name of the Miami Herald magazine that used to have? Anyway,
Yeah, no, Trump says right.
well, okay, so it was just a little article, but anyway, and that was before Jean. That was before I met Jean Walsh, his grandmother, Adam's grandmother at the park. But I I think what happened was John Walsh was in the hotel business. That's true. We know this. His son is found decapitated. It's a national case. He was the first one that I remember to put up those massive flyers. And what he found out and what he let know on public television was one county did not know what the other county but like they didn't know about a missing child. Like Broward County knew because it happened in Broward County, but Dade County and Palm Beach County didn't know. So Indian River County, where he was found, the head was found, they didn't know. So so what happened was he was saying this on air. He was a good-looking guy. There's just that's neither here nor there. That's just part of I think that's part of it, that he was a good-looking man and he was grieving over his son. And I think that the public, for lack of a better term, they definitely sympathized with him, and they definitely, loved him as a grieving dad, and Reve as a grieving mom. But I think John had the opportunity to help other children that went missing, because then there was another child that went missing and they reached out to the Adam Walsh Center, and ultimately the Adam Walsh Center became the Missing and Exploited Children, and that's in Washington D.C., and it's huge, and it connects all of these counties and states now. And even the Amber Alert, all of this stuff has come from this. So he ended up with a dead kid, and what do you do with that? And so somebody reached out to him at some point. Somebody reached out to him and said, can you help here? Can you help there? And as he picked up the pieces, he got out of the hotel business and got into this business. And it was this business that gave him that lifestyle. I think he would give it all back if he could get his 6-year-old kid back. So I don't think that it
And the
was
fact
him.
that it happened in Hollywood, so close to where you were living as a kid.
Oh, absolutely. I remember being
Yeah.
scared for my little brother at the time. I was at
Sure.
Sylvia's house when they had found him, I believe.
Yeah, it was, I would say you certainly, as a result of his effort, you have this early information technology being applied directly where it needed to be applied. And that was on missing kids and things that as a result of that. So, without a doubt, you did something with it, as opposed to just sitting and grieving with it. Um,
But here's the thing, you got to remember, and
which
then
isn't a bad thing either. You can sit and grieve with it and
yeah,
still be a
but
blessed and wonderful being. I mean, that's, yeah.
yeah, but see what he did, and I met him a couple times because he'd come and see his mom. They'd come, and when the family would come, because she had 2 other kids, so she had 3 boys and a girl. Jean Walsh. They were all named out of J's. They were all named J's, all of the kids, you know. But anyway, when I met John, the few times I met John, you could tell that there was a broken person there, even when he tried to smile and say things. So if he made a living and it happened to be a good living, I don't think that he negotiated money. Maybe he does now, I don't know, but I think that this was just something that people said, man, he could do this and he can relate to people, and he's a good looking guy, and he's a family man, and he knows he knows what it feels like. So I don't think he
And he
looked
was
for
40
that.
years
I
ahead
think
of
they reached out to him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
30,
I think
30 years ahead of networking to the degree that would be invaluable. So, without a doubt, he gets credit for that. My sense of it was that having seen that, I just felt like, wow, he's made that much money off of the situation. Maybe, but you're right that that's a result of the situation. He was already making money. He's talented and good looking, the whole thing, and that makes a difference. The daughters claimed that he got involved to her life to get some doctor or something involved to get custody from her kids, and have now is that a power struggle between a father and a daughter? Is he really the judge of her children?
so.
You know,
John
there.
Walsh has got a lot of hate over that. I know. So it seems like there's
Well, I got some of that because I looked at his money thing and felt immediately, all right, well, maybe he is got some. He weighs on the bad side of things. He was a moneymaker. So
Uh,
that you're right.
So, well, but here's the thing: two things could be right at the same time, for sake of the argument. Two things could be right. It could be that he came into this as, a grieving dad that felt like he could help, and he started making some money, and his life started changing. And it's been how many years since Adam's been gone? 55 years, 56 years that he's been gone. He died in 1981. 55, uh you do the math, you know,
45, 45
40.
years.
Okay, since he's been gone. So now, is it about money? Or is it about finding,
Yeah.
you know
No,
what I
I
mean?
mean,
So, I mean,
I
it could have changed. Things could have changed, and it could be that he thinks he knows best about his daughter's children, and it also could be that his daughter has some mental issues, which is what his claim is. His claim is that his daughter has some mental issues, and that would be the only reason why he would ever try to seek custody of her children, was because of their safety. So, and her argument, honestly, is that her dad is a controlling man, and it's all about money. She says rotten things about him, and there are people that have sided with her.
well, let's call this the result of the weight of a meme, the weight of cultural pressure, because you are exactly right. A lot of people are hating on him. And when you get a closer look at and get a lens on it, there's a lot to consider. But the first and overall feeling I got just even hearing about him after having heard about him for a long time was that, oh my God, was this what he was about the whole time? Did he turn this into a money thing? And is this, you know, the result of some kind of compensation for that loss? So, which could be too. I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. I mean, he definitely did something in the '80s that made a difference. He changed businesses. He, as you clearly put it, and it has resulted in these state networkings and
Absolutely, he's
people
changed.
talking to
He's
each
made
other
some
all over
great
the.
laws. Some
This
laws
is
have
a
definitely been changed in
Yeah, and
helping
the Amber Alerts
missing
a
and
very effective
exploited
tool.
children. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And well, he
Um,
didn't come up with the Amber Alert. You know that was named after somebody.
yeah,
That,
yeah,
yeah,
that was
okay,
named after a missing girl, right? I
right.
remember.
So, but um, but it's because of that kind of, it's because of
It's one ingredient
the
in a larger
networking.
plus you've got a
Exactly,
lot more.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, because the Adam Walsh center is no longer in existence, it has been engulfed, or it has become, I don't know if it
A
rolled
greater
into the
project. Yeah,
snowball, or if the snowball rolled into that, but
yeah.
it's become the missing and exploited women and children. It's children and women, actually. So it's beyond children. It also helps women, and it's absolutely nationwide, if not countrywide at this point. So, it's because of the Adam Walsh Outreach Center. That's what it was called, the Adam Walsh Outreach Center. It's because of that's in existence, and that's only credit to John and Reve Walsh. That's who that's credit to, because they kept that place open after Adam was gone. Because when I went in there, it was after Adam was gone, and they knew Adam was gone. They were trying to, talk to legislators and have things change up. And they were also making posters, if I remember correctly, of another missing child and setting up that. So while I was in the building, while talking, trying to get the interview, I remember that instinctively. I remember distinctively. I'm sorry, I remember that distinctively, that yeah, there was. And so, and that's all. You could sit Reve, I think Reve didn't handle it the way that John handled it. John, I think, he, with the grief, it lit a fire under his ass, where Reve, I I think, broke down over it, and Reve fell under scrutiny more so than John at the time. I remember rumors coming out saying that it was a lover of Reve's. Reve didn't have a lover. You know what I'm saying? That's bullshit. And then it became the hotel business that John was in. It couldn't be a stranger, couldn't be a fucking stranger that abducted a child. Oh, because that's what we do. You know, like, and it's always,
There was a
and
guy
yes,
named
and
Otis
yes, wait a minute,
O'Toole,
yeah,
apparently.
Otis Toole, right? So,
Toole.
and
Right.
It was Otis. But here's the thing, especially back then, you know, and it is still prevalent that children usually, unfortunately, die at the hands of somebody in their family, unfortunately. But it is completely possible, though we don't want to admit it, that children lose their lives at the hands of strangers, and how vulnerable and how a situation is. And what happened, I don't know if you know the story, but what happened was, the kids, Adam was there in the Atari aisle, that 1981, in the Atari aisle, and his mom was 2 aisles away, and he wanted to play. There were children playing in the Atari game. He was waiting his turn, and people and kids were arguing about, wanting to play. They became loud, and I guess the security guard said, "Hey, you kids need to leave." And he brought young children outside of the store, and that's where Adam was taken from, outside that store. In the meantime, Jean Walsh, the grandmother, the woman that I worked with, and I didn't know this until Jean told me. um so Reve is looking frantically for Adam, and then she sees her mother-in-law, and she thinks, "Oh, he's with his grandma." No. So that was just that had to have been something that is just so crushing, because here you have hope. No, Adam's nowhere. So Jean knew something happened pretty much within 10 minutes of when it happened. So the grandmother was right there, which I didn't know that. And before it became where Otis was actually convicted of the unaliving of Adam, um, Jean told me it was him. And I said, "How
From
do
what
you
I
know?"
saw, he wasn't actually convicted of that. He was convicted of something else. He confessed to it, and because of his confession, the case was closed. He supplied enough evidence in like
Yeah, so I know what you
2008 or something. The case was finally closed.
yeah, so no, so we know that I didn't know Gene Walsh in 2008. We know that. Okay, so because when I knew Jean, I knew her at TY Park, and I was at the most 22, 23 years old, at the very most, right? So we
Yeah.
know this was in the early 80s. Jean said to me she knew who unalived her grandson, and she told me it was Otis. And I said, "How do you know?" And she said, "Because he knew how the body was unattached to the head." And she told me what that tool was. And he knew that. And so that's why she was convinced that he did
And
it.
how early did she know that? Because that's a real interesting.
So what I'm
They didn't
telling
close the
you,
case. They didn't officially close the case to 2008. He confessed somewhere before that,
yeah, so I'm telling
before his
you,
death.
so 1983, I was 20 years old. So maybe 1985 at the most.
But
That
how would the grandmother know that? Was he a neighborhood guy
because
that he
no, 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 no,
did he
because
brag
he had
about it or
already
something?
no, because he confessed, and then he took it back. He confessed it, but she said that he confessed, and she told me, because I know the tool that was used to take away, and I don't
Oh,
know
you
that
mean
that
at the
would.
time when they were investigating and he confessed, but they never pressed charges because they found his
He
confession?
was already, I think he was already in prison. Um, and he was already a guy that they had asked questions to.
Okay.
But she told me, I have no reason to tell you something different. She told
Yeah,
me
yeah,
back
yeah.
then, and that's when I knew her, and she told me, and I said, "How do you know it's him?" And she said, "Because he knew the tool that was used to cut his head off." And she
And that was
told me what that.
the tool forensically they described as being the one that did the job.
Well, as I'm just telling you what Jean told me. She
Yeah, yeah,
said,
no.
so could
You
somebody
know
have
the
told?
tool. You know what it was?
Yeah, yeah, it was a saw. Yeah. So,
This poor little kid would have been terrified.
I'm pretty sure pretty sure he was. Pretty sure he was. Yeah, absolutely horrific story, as we know, and his body was never found. It was only his head. But the thing about it is, what I'm saying is that I certainly 1000% do not feel at any point in time that John Walsh looked at this as a business. I think it was something that landed in his lap and he said, listen, and maybe that was a way for him to deal with his own grief by helping others with what they were going through. Or maybe he never got to deal with his own grief because he kept helping others to deal with their grief. Maybe, but I don't think it had anything to do with money. And the fact that he can make a living off of helping people from his own fucked up experience, I think was just a benefit to him to be able to do that and to make so much money. I don't think it was anything he ever asked for. Now, has that changed over the course of time? I don't know. I don't know at all. I
Really,
know
it
that
started
money
out
can change
noble, and
things.
it may have
But
gone this other direction, without a doubt. I mean, and
yeah,
by
so
the
I don't
daughter's
know.
report, though, her kids have actually been taken from her by DCF. And if I saw correctly, the son Hayden, when interviewed, talked about how his parents told him not to be a little Prince or Lord Fauntleroy, that prances around and forgets how much it takes to achieve. He says, I worked in the barn every summer. I worked to play polo. I was 10 years younger than my brother Callahan and 12 years younger than my sister Megan. As harsh as I thought they were, I'm thankful for them putting me straight and teaching me not to be a pest. So now we can unpack that, but this is the Hayden's view. So maybe Megan did actually feel her parents and her father was hard on her, and maybe it affected her psychologically later in life, where DCF, a state agency, actually came and took her kids away from her. I don't know. I haven't seen a follow up on her. Have the kids been brought back? As
I don't know. When was that article that you're looking at?
I am looking at an article that was posted. I'll tell you, it's in a place called True Crime Diva. To give them a shout out, please take care of my friend Ogadi is Toddy. She deserves a leg up. And yes, True Crime Diva is the link. It came up in search. And I'm not seeing a date posted directly. Let me see. Where is this? So September 20th. No, that's not the right date. But I can't tell at the moment. So give me a second on that. But
Okay.
it was from an interview. Let's see, is it dated through 2021? That's when they took the children in custody, April 2021. The youngest child was only 5 days old.
Ooh, wow. That's like a
Kindergarten.
substance thing, in my opinion. That's almost like a substance thing, in my opinion.
Or because of mental health, that she's considered a danger to the kids. All right, so the what Hayden Walsh said was told to Sidelines magazine in 2017.
That's 8 years ago. Okay. Cool
That's
beans.
what Hayden said about his parents in relation to what was going on with his sister and her and his father, and the relationship between the father. Let me go back to this. Florida DCF takes Meghan Walsh's kids. The Florida Department of Children and Families took Meghan's older children into custody in April 2021, and the youngest child when the infant was 5 days old in June of 2022. So she has a kid later in June, and they take that kid. A judge granted John and Reve custody. On the day social services removed her infant child, two of Megan's supporters were there conveniently, and they filmed the incident with a phone camera. You can watch it, and there's a TikTok video, and they point to a link.
So that's 3 years ago in 2022, you said?
That is in 2022. Well, the video is heartbreaking for some to watch. ICLE doing their job, LB
Law
being
enforcement. Law enforcement. Yep.
a mother who seems unstable. She immediately mentioned her father's name and says he has a federal case in process. However, she does not say anything more about it. While speaking with LE, Megan's cell phone rings and she answers it. then puts it on speaker. It's her ADA advocate. She says, an ADA advocate works on behalf of people with disabilities. Is Meghan disabled or is one of her children? And we need some clarification. That's
Okay.
what the article says. And regardless, one of the court officers says, regardless of the situation, the officer tells the advocate, I have a court order to take the infant. Meghan is upset, understandably, but she also seems nervous and defensive. She keeps saying, this kidnapping, this is evil. No, it's not kidnapping. They can legally take your child. This is what she's saying, apparently.
Right.
He only shows us one side of the story, Meghan's. So, and of course, as a result, there's wild conspiracy theories. The article goes deeper into it.
Right. So let me see. Callahan Walsh. Does he have any children? Let's see.
So as a result of conspiracy theory, I'm just going to skim past all that rather than go into it. Meghan wants the world to believe that her parents are evil and Adam is alive. And she must be believable and not appear half mad. Talking about your children being removed is one thing, but accusing people of kidnapping them or associating your experience with human trafficking is bullshit and a slap in the face to real victims. For the record, I don't believe a man who dedicated his life to saving children will be a monster. Meghan claims that he would be. Would he be on the side of him? That would be. We would have seen that side of him long by now.
Yeah, he's not. I don't believe he's trafficking children, and I don't believe that Adam's. I don't believe for a second that Adam's alive.
The brother says something went wrong with Meghan. If she speaks the truth, I hope her children return to her. But if she denies events of her own doing that led to DCF removing them, I hope she gets the help she needs for her children's sake. So, and there is a current petition to help her. The first sentence starts, there's a national outcry. So someone's generated a petition to try and help her.
Right.
There aren't any significant, according to this article, aren't any significant newspaper. If you Google Meghan Walsh, you will not find any significant newspaper or news channels covering her wild story. You won't find it on social media unless it's Meghan or her supporters posting about it. Meghan or her supporters posting about it.
Right.
If you want to watch videos surrounding the story, by all means plug in her name, but you're going to see her side of the story.
Right. So I can't imagine why John and Reve would want to take over being parents again after so long. I mean, they're not young people. And they're busy people at that. It's not like they're looking for something to do with their life. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're meddling parents.
No, old folk, if anything, just want grandchildren to show up and then leave.
Right?
The kids, you can stay outside, leave your problems. My mother used to say, I don't want to hear, there's only good stories after the age of 30. You don't bring me, the kids can stay outside. Drop your children off for a little while, then you come and you pick them up.
Right.
We'll have fun with them, and then we'll spoil them as we need. And,
Right.
And you come and get them. So, they don't want that. That's a universal thing. I agree 100%.
Right. So I think that, I think she's just trying to, I think that John's trying to do the right thing. And unfortunately, this time it involves his own family again, and it's going to cause, and he's going to come across from some women. And I guarantee you it's going to be more women, obviously. And there's going to be people that are going to believe because John has money and Meghan doesn't have any. So he's going to come across as the big bully. And people are going to believe that because there are people that are bullies to those people. And they use that as a funnel. And now John is now taking on responsibilities of people that he doesn't even met. He's never even met. You know what I'm saying?
This is what's his name talks about all the time, that sometimes when you have notoriety and you have wealth and fame and people attach themselves to you in such a way that you can't. I mean, I remember even years ago hearing about the woman who showed up in Dave Letterman's house thinking that she and Dave were married.
Remember that? Yeah.
And he's like, what are you doing? And has to have her removed. It was a mental health issue. And so there may be something going on. Maybe the daughter broke somewhere along the line in there.
Well, she
He's
was. She
seemingly
would have been
your idea of looking up what does Callahan say, what does Hayden say, what do their kids say.
right,
That perspective is certainly worthy of investigating as to further determining the character of
John.
John. But
And
yeah,
also the character of their sister. And here's the thing. So you got to remember that, John, Adam was found in 1981. That's okay. In 1982, Meghan was born. So, I think that probably her upbringing was going to be a lot different than the other two siblings, especially the youngest one 10 years later, 12 years later. But being so close to being born after your brother is found
it's
decapitated
almost
at
like you're a
6 years old.
compensation baby. Yeah, that
So I
definitely
can
makes
imagine how she must have been protected, overprotected. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know that story, so I don't know how she lived her life, but especially as a girl, coming in as a girl after that happening to your brother, a year before, a year later, she comes up, into it. So I don't know, but I don't think, maybe the something with the family, probably unintentional, if anything, but some sort of break could have definitely happened because of what happened with her brother. And I could totally believe that in the raising of her. But I don't know what that is. I haven't heard what that is.
well,
But I don't think John at all is an evil man who's trafficking children. And I know that
I think it would
Adam.
be fair to speculate that they were probably overprotective and certainly more guarding and more, they might have been original OG helicopter parents in that regard, to the degree that, it was overbearing and she's a borderline personality that came out of that
And
and
she's
can't
a
figure
girl.
out
So
who she
imagine that.
is. And then she's
Imagine
got to
that.
find
And girls
strength
are
as a
always
woman in
more
the world.
vulnerable. And, and
Absolutely.
and they took your son. So imagine
Yeah.
how protective. Imagine how many times she couldn't go to that person's house, maybe because they were
Oh,
afraid
and
of
the
something
pain of
happening.
having just given birth and only 5 days later having a child, an infant, pulled from your body. I can only imagine the sorrow and pain and loss of a mother not being able to nurse and feed, even just with her love and her desire to comfort her child, so soon thereafter having given birth. That is horrific. And this
Well,
girl
who
is
said
only
that that
suffering.
didn't happen?
No, I'm saying that happened to Megan. They came in June of 2022 and took her 5-day-old infant away from her
Oh, I
and
see what
brought
you're
them
saying.
to
Right,
her parents. Now that's harsh,
right, right, right.
but she might have been proved enough of a danger to that infant that the state determined that. However, Florida, they can flex on any number of reasons. In
I don't know that
Florida,
she lives in Florida. Does she live in Florida?
yeah, she was at the article said that they lived, it was DCF that did it. So that
Okay.
was the Department of Children of Florida. So it was
No,
that
that's not.
particular.
No, that's not. That's Department of Children and Family Services.
That I mistook. Yeah, but I'm saying the DCF is in Florida, is what I meant.
Yeah, but
That
how do you know
particular.
she lives in Florida? Because last I heard I thought he lived in actual Washington, D.C.
That was
That's
what the
where
article had said earlier. I can go back and
that they
find it.
did live
But
in Florida, that Megan lives in Florida. Because she
that
might.
is, yeah, DCF took her children. I thought it was in Florida. That's what the article had said. But and I'm not seeing it at the moment. But I'd have to go back and scroll to where I
Okay,
read.
that's all
But
right. Okay.
nonetheless, so yeah, no. The point being is that someone made a determination to take this child from her at
Right.
5 days. And that is a sore point for any human being, whether you have mental illness or not. She suffered as a human being, and that only added to her suffering as to
Right.
whatever led to her mental state to begin with. It only exacerbated it.
Right. I could
So,
believe that. Absolutely.
yeah,
I believe
and
that.
I feel for her as a human being, having had to gone through that. Um, so now I'm
But what do
trying
you
to.
do? What do you do? I mean, it doesn't seem like he went and took any other grandchildren. It
Right, the
doesn't seem
title of
like.
the paragraph is Florida DCF takes
Okay.
Meghan Walsh to children. That's all that I saw about that. And then a
Yeah,
judge granted John and Reve custody in June of 2022, taking the
right.
youngest child away when the infant was only 5 days old.
Wow.
So
Well, I
feel
don't
for
know how
that
many
young
kids
mother
Megan
who
has,
gave
and I
birth
don't
to
know
that
if she
child.
got her kids back. Yeah, I don't even know if she got her kids back or anything. Let's see. She's 43 years old.
As of October 2025, Megan and the children have not returned to her care.
Really?
Yep, the three older children were moved into custody in 2021, like it said earlier. This is an AI report. In June of 2022, her newborn daughter was also removed 5 days after birth.
So all of them have this isn't her. So all of them have been taken from her?
Yep, and they've not been
Wow.
returned.
And they've not been returned. So John is raising these kids.
It
John
looks
and
like
Reve. John and Reve. I wonder where
yeah,
the dad is. Yeah, I wonder where the dad
he
is.
does now. According to this particular report, it says while Meghan Walsh has publicly claimed that her father, John Walsh, and the authorities were involved in a conspiracy to take her children, the official reasons for the removal are rooted in her documented history of substance abuse, mental health challenges, and failure to meet court ordered requirements. As of the current date, there has been no public information indicating that her children have been returned to her care.
I see that
But
there's
still,
there's I see the petition.
I feel for
Demand
that
justice for Meghan
young
Walsh in
girl.
return of her children. Uh, Meghan Walsh, daughter of of John Walsh, America's most wanted missing and exploited children, alleges that her children were wrongfully removed by DCFS. DCFS, yeah. Children and Family Services. We, the undersigned, call the Federal Bureau. Meghan's children were taken by supported the investigated allegations, conduct, ensured due process. Call to action with the undersigned. I think she might be a little wonkadoodly, to be honest with you. So I don't know.
Well, it does look like there was a drama at the event. Apparently,
What's
the
that?
at the event, the Florida Department of Family Services had determined that the conditions for her removal applied due to her history of noncompliance in court order case, like we said, right? The removal was carried out by deputies and DCF workers with a standoff occurring at her home involving her former employer, a guy named John Corapi, Corapi, who was later arrested for interfering with the custody transfer. So there's probably further details on that.
Hmm.
Probably. So that came from an article called Vero News, as in Vero Beat, probably. VeroNews.com. Fired. The title of the article is Fire Chamber Executive Arrested for Interfering with Deputies.
She did that?
No, her employer apparently interfered with deputies taking those kids. So there was an event.
Oh my goodness.
This article was published July 2nd, 2022. It's
Mm-hmm.
titled Fire Chamber Executive Arrested for Interfering with Deputies. He thrust himself into the ongoing custody battle between Meghan Walsh and father John Walsh. He was a longtime Vero Beach resident, best known for crime fighting TV personality. Best known as a crime fighting TV
Right,
personality.
right.
Reading ahead of myself. He was charged third-degree felony punishable by 5 years and fined $5,000. Let's see. Did he end up pleading guilty to it? He didn't harm anybody. I didn't put anybody in harm's way, according to Karapi.
So he tried to help her, apparently, huh?
Yes, he stood. That's why there was a little bit of a standoff, apparently.
So how many kids does she have? She has
She
three,
had
you said?
3 children at the time, and then a baby taken a year later.
So 4 kids that they're raising. You think that's what they wanted to do, huh? Nope.
Yeah, no, I certainly wouldn't think that. No, no.
Hmm.
And I would think if anything, they would hopefully be engaging their other children and any subsequent cousins, and there would be a good little community for those kids to grow up in, and they wouldn't be alone in raising them. That those children hopefully would be being raised by family.
Right? I'm trying to find her.
Well, like
John.
the one thing it said, there isn't a lot on her because nobody wants to think bad of John Walsh, and they're not going to give in to misinformation on a guy like that. If only that kind of scruple was applied elsewhere.
Oh, I'm watching the video of them taking the baby.
Yeah, that's.
Did you watch that video?
I did not know. I was looking to see the outcome for Mr. Karapi.
When Meghan Walsh's America's Most Corrupt on TikTok reposted this video from our TikTok of her telling Assistant FBI Director Dan Bongino that her children were being trafficked by her dad, John Walsh, using CPS. TikTok removed the video for violating community guidelines. I understand in that. John Walsh involved in child trafficking. John Walsh's daughter, Meghan Walsh, had her kids taken by state after John Walsh lied. She reveals child trafficking rings using John Walsh's nonprofit. I don't believe that for a second.
He has Karapi co-hosts a Facebook video podcast called TGI Now. It live streamed the incident and used the platform to solicit funds for his legal defense. So he's looking for money that way too.
I don't believe that they need to check into John Walsh for trafficking children. I don't think that is at all anything he's doing. What is your
Well,
feeling about?
but this thing in the world right now, they're, and it's a terrible thing because it overcompensates and looks in the wrong area, completely obfuscating areas that we need to be looking at. It's
So you don't think that they looked into this allegation at all, or you
I'm
just think?
sure they did. I'm sure they did. Somebody sniffed around it because that's what these guys are. Some because of the press and propaganda, however, some idiot went into a pizza joint a couple of years back and thought that there was some ring going on in a place that didn't have a basement, claiming there was a basement.
I remember. I remember. I
And so
remember. I remember.
there's something to this propaganda things that drives people, batty.
Look, my question would be, if you know that your parents are going to go after your kids, why are you still having them? You know what I mean? Like, this is the fourth kid. Why did she think? You know what I'm saying? And if she lost so many kids, the kids are living with John and Reve, so where are they being trafficked? Or I mean, like, I think that that's obscene, and I just
Well, that's the kind of thing that's incredibly ugly. That's what right now we are slinging the mud. I'm going to propose this to you, okay? And I hope that maybe this lands. In the 50s, there was a guy who stood up and talked about how there's plenty of room at the bottom. And as a result of that, microcircuitry opened up. It was a seminal paper, was brilliant. Today, we have a similar phenomena. We had Michelle Obama tell us, when they go low, we go high. Well, that's not working. People are struggling to understand how to deal with demagogues. And I think scientifically, there is plenty of room at the bottom politically, too. And there are ways to be able to outwit, outsmart, and outthink those who are willing to wallow in the mud and do the name calling and point out what they're doing in such a way that, in effect, calls them names because it labels them. You don't have to label a person if you're pointing out what their behavior is. That's how they become known. So, anyway, there's plenty of room at the bottom, and there's plenty of room at the bottom politically to be able to figure out how to outthink some of these people who are willing to sling in the mud and make an accusation like calling somebody a pedo or calling somebody this or calling somebody that, claiming somebody's child trafficking, and they're not. I mean, that is a slanderous thing. I hope he sues and is able to get recovery, get some, level playing field for his good name. I mean, if that's the case, and that's what we want to see, right? That's
Well, I don't want him to sue his kid. I want his kid to get help and hope that
Well, no, maybe
someday
the
that,
outlets that are promoting it though. He's not going to sue the kid, but
yeah.
he might be suing this guy, the Karapi guy, if he's promoting that kind of thing on a podcast and Facebook.
Well,
You know,
here's
if
the
Facebook
thing.
is not
If
taking
he's,
it down.
wait a minute, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. So if he believes what she's telling him, then that's what he believes. And he's allowed to speak what he believes. He's not making it up. He's saying, she told me this, and she's saying she's made those allegations. So
Right, but
those
if
are
he's on a
people,
podcast making money, there's slander and libel issues that would.
not if he's not the one making the allegations. He gave her a platform to tell her side, right? It's not his responsibility if
No, but
she's
I'm saying
lying.
John Walsh would then sue Karapi for the kind of effect his libelous behavior would have resulted in, and
Only if he said the things, not just gave her a platform so that she could tell her side, because again, she'd be the liar. It would be like you coming on here and lying. I'm not responsible for you lying. You know, as long as I know who you are, I'm not responsible for you lying. That's on you. I gave you a safe platform to speak your truth. If you lied, that's on you. It's your side of the story,
you know,
right?
back in the day, we'd have the good angel on one side and the bad angel on the other, right? So
Yeah, you still have
we're
it.
going to have we're going to have the AI lawyer on one side and the AI psychotherapist on the other.
True
You know,
that. True that. Yep. I get
steer
it.
life accordingly.
It's
Um,
true. I get it. You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
it's something to consider. You know, in fact, can we package that now? Take advantage of that now. You
Yeah,
know, a
right.
little. You know, Attorney Bob and Dr. Tommy. They help you through life. Why got to be men's names? You know, Attorney Linda and Dr. Marie. Yeah. So yeah, that would be something to consider down the road. But I would only think that if this guy has said something about John Walsh, his people are already looking at it. His attorneys, his. I would only hope that he's got mechanisms in place to protect him and his money and his foundations and things that he's involved with.
Well, I don't believe that John Walsh is behind any kind of child trafficking or anything like that at all. So, I think his daughter had some sort of something go wrong, and whether it was partially responsible because of being born right after her brother was brutally murdered, I don't know. Guys, thank you so much for indulging us again in the argument. And guys, check out what's going on with Meghan Walsh and the Walsh family. And also check this clown out, a guy who has the nerve to say he is Adam Walsh. And guys, thank you so much. Don't forget, we can't scream loud enough. If you have something to say, you have to make sure that you have a strong argument. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.
You are indeed Adam
Well,
Walsh.
first of all, I know I'm Adam because I'm the one with the memories and everything I've been through. And um, there's a lot of people out there that may not believe or not, but partly it's my fault. Over the years, I've kept silence about it. I haven't talked to anything or anyone. I've pretty much been on my own. Yeah, it's me there. For a lot of it, I was born 11/14/74. I remember them putting me like in the foster homes and then putting me in different lower level of schooling.